Carly, we often say we are so lucky on our show to interview and talk with fabulous guests and get to know them. And there are some people that you know when they come on the show, you're just going to come away feeling better and loving them. I already knew I liked your style, but just in saying hello, we really are excited to welcome our next guest.
Yeah, well, you know how much I love music, Mary. I'm one of the biggest country music fans that there is. But more importantly, I love the type of songs that you're writing, what you're doing. We want to introduce everybody to Mary Gauthier this morning, Grammy nominated for her work "Rifles to Rosemary Beads." This album that she's been working with veterans across the country. And man, again, we already know our time here is just not going to be enough. But let's dive in, Mary. Good morning. Thanks for joining us from Nashville. Are you in Nashville this morning?
I'm in Nashville. Yeah, we are on the other side of the last presidential debate, which was held here last night. Quite the scene in front of Belmont University.
Very true.
Oh yeah.
Well, and I love that you kind of went there because talk about this album that you have been talking with veterans and helping them write their stories through music. And what I love before we got started here was you said, listen, this is not political. It doesn't matter what side you're on, but there's something that's resonating with this music that you're helping these veterans write. Tell us about this album and this collaboration.
Yeah, thanks for asking. Thanks for having me on. I work with a nonprofit called Songwriting with Soldiers. And what we do is pair up songwriters, professional songwriters, master songwriters with wounded veterans and their families from all branches of the military, from any conflict that America has been involved in. We work with a lot of Vietnam veterans, predominantly worked with veterans who've served in Afghanistan and Iraq. And what we do is listen and bear witness to their story and turn their words into their song. And we don't sing about politics or our beliefs. What we sing about is emotion and story. And the hope and actually the result is that we end up with songs that help civilians to know what it feels like to have served. We are in this great divide between the civilian population and the military population. Less than 1% of our population has served. And a lot of us don't even know those who've served at this stage of American history. And so our job is to help build a bridge and connect these populations of Americans with understanding and empathy. So we turn their words into their songs, and their songs are a reflection of their soul.
Mary, you're talking about the veterans' stories, but you yourself have a remarkable story, and you're very open about it. The struggles that you had in your early years, kind of growing up, made you go to song. You said, I've heard that you've said the songs kind of pulled you in, or the feelings you've had to tell your story. Can you give us a glimpse of how you've became you and have this talent that the world is able to enjoy through your music?
Oh gosh, thanks for asking that. You know, they say what doesn't kill you can make you stronger. I had quite the struggle with addiction. I had my own trauma that I had to work through. And early on as a songwriter, I realized after I got sober, I'm in recovery, that art can be far more than just entertainment. And as I worked through my own trauma and struggles using the medium of songwriting to help me articulate what was inside of me, I started to see the redemptive powers of it. That if you pair melody with truth and sing it, people are in a position to see you and say, me too, me too. I know how that feels. I feel that too. And there's something very powerful and healing about that. One of the mainstays of trauma is the feeling of being alone and being removed. And so having worked through a lot, I'm 30 years sober now with my own songs and songwriting, it just predisposed me to understand how powerful the medium is in this arena of trauma healing. And it made me so excited to be able to use what I'd learned as I'm my own guinea pig anyway, as I made my way through it, to use what I've learned in service to those who've served.
So not only that, but you also offer classes, and you've been doing this throughout the year, these master classes just with other songwriters in general too. How are these working?
Yeah, I've taught songwriting for over a decade, and after the shutdown in March, most musicians like me haven't worked since March in the real world because our venues are all closed. We were the first to shut down, and we'll be the last to open because these small venues packed in with a lot of people are not COVID safe. We haven't figured out how to do that yet, so those venues are closed. So we pivoted online with the songwriting classes, and now I teach them on Zoom. And what I'm doing is working with fellow songwriters to help them understand the craft and the art and apply some of what my 30 years of knowledge has taught me so that they can proceed into their own art with greater knowledge. I call it giving them tools for their toolkit as a songwriter.
Yeah.
Well, of course, Tampa Bay was hurting because you weren't able to perform. I know you were scheduled to perform at the Spraz for us before the pandemic hit. So we're lucky that we get a performance from you today. What song are we going to get to enjoy as we get ready to say goodbye to you?
I believe we've pulled up a song I wrote with a female combat veteran and flight instructor named Jennifer Marino. Jen was privileged to be one of the crew, co-pilot, for the first ever all-female flight of a president on Chopper One. And this song I wrote with Jen explains in a way that I didn't understand before we wrote it why reentry can be so difficult for so many of our veterans, because the skill sets that they acquired to make them great soldiers are behaviors that make it hard to be civilian. And this song is an explanation of that, and it's called Soldiering On, and that's referencing shutting down your emotions to be a good warrior. But shutting down your emotions in civilian life creates all kind of problems in relationships.
Well, Mary, thank you so much for your time. You've got to come back, okay? We love this platform where we can get you back again soon. Thank you. Take care. And we leave you now with the song Soldiering On.